Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're going to take a look here at Ethereum, see what's going on. I got a request from some of my community members, regarding Ethereum 2.0, what that might mean for us. And we're going to take a look at the technical analysis, of course, regarding that, but also know that it's typically a buy the rumor, sell the news situation. So commonly the price will inflate up until the news actually occurs, and then the price action comes down. I'm not saying that'll happen this time specifically because we had a massive correction yesterday from Bitcoin, and Ethereum, of course, followed suit, and that essentially impacted a lot of things. So we'll take a look at the TA and kind of see where we're at, kind of go from there, hopefully help you understand best practice and big picture. And if you do want to become a better trader, perhaps benefit from the signals that I send out, cryptocash.tech is the website. Link in the description below. I have a signal group and also Trading Academy to teach you how to become a better trader. Take the 16, almost 17 years of trading experience that I have and imparting you with that knowledge. So awesome stuff. Had a lot of graduates recently too that turned out to be fantastic traders. So congratulations on that, and very well done. Very last thing too, I highly recommend using BitGet for things of this nature, especially if you want leverage in the United States without a VPN. Yes, you heard that correctly. Leverage in the US without a VPN. BitGet gives you that opportunity. There's also a decent bonus that you receive when you register as well, especially if you use this link. Just keep in mind it's based on trading volume and how often you trade. So in other words, if you're not trading with it, you're probably not going to get much of a bonus. That's just kind of the thing. The merit is to essentially entice you to trade. So makes sense, right? All right, so here's kind of where we're at for Ethereum. It's done very well for itself in the past couple of months, right? All things considered, you compare this with Bitcoin, it's doing much, much better, right? So, good news is Ethereum is in good shape in that sense. Bad news is, of course, it's aligned itself with Bitcoin a little bit more so recently, where its corrective behavior is pretty synonymous. Now that's not bad or good. Honestly, it's more so neutral. It's not a terrible thing when that happens. It's almost easier to predict and anticipate the price action, but generally speaking, we can kind of see there is somewhat of an ascending trend here holding. So the likelihood of Ethereum increasing from here seems higher than it would be to decrease. Again, just based on that sentiment. We don't want to take one indication and go from it. You don't make a trade based on one trend line, but this is a positive here. We're going to highlight both positive and negative today. Taking a look, of course, at the RSI, we can see the RSI coming back down and not necessarily bouncing off 50, but coming back up to retest it. So hopefully we can get it back up above 50 in the RSI and be in good shape. Bitcoin's in a similar situation right now as well. We got a MACD divergence forming here, so this does kind of tell us that further downside is possible. So I would say we have kind of a wash here. We've got some positive and negative here. I would say actually maybe not necessarily a wash. The macro doesn't look fantastic. The trend line is the only thing really kind of holding the price action in place. In fact, we've lost all moving averages too as well. So there's really not a lot holding things in place here. It's just that if we were to get back up over 50 in the RSI, have a nice closure here today, that'd be a very positive thing. Okay, so we're hoping for that. Will that happen? Hard to say specifically. Really just depends on this guy here, the big old catalyst there, Bitcoin. All right, so in that regard, if we take a look at the 4 hour, we can kind of understand that we're below all moving averages. That's pretty standard for most coins right now. We can also recognize the fact that we have the RSI getting closer to 30. Okay, now when that happens, it's one of those situations where it's all well and good, but we want to try to get a bounce off 30. So hypothetically, the price comes down a little bit lower to like this 1560. That'd be a positive to essentially allow for it to bounce higher. But for right now, the RSI is kind of just giving us the indication that we're still bearish in the midterm. Makes sense. Most coins are also in that situation. MACD is also diverging, but you can see it's losing its momentum here, which is positive. It doesn't necessarily mean it's just going to continue, but it does imply that the bears are starting to lose that control as the price continues to go sideways. Mostly positive, I guess, in that sense. Taking a look at the 1 hour, though, what we want to take a look at here, of course, on the 1 hour is a couple of key factors here. First of all, the Ichimoku cloud is giving us a closure signal for a short. So if you have a short position open, you should have closed it based on these two indicators giving us that inclination. The thing you also need to recognize is that we're still below the cloud, though, so a long position isn't viable. Keep in mind, the Ichimoku cloud is a conservative indicator. It's going to give you conservative sell and buy signals. So in this case, there is no buy signal, but there's really no sell signal either in that sense. Whereas even though these two indicators are telling us you want to close, we're still well below the cloud, and a short position might still be viable moving forward. Especially if the news tomorrow occurs, just say for example, and the price comes down further, you could experience that as well. So me personally, with situations like these, if I were to take a position, I'd take a small position. Okay, I usually try to avoid it, but sometimes it's worth kind of risking that, right? Depending on where you're at. I would not take a super large leverage position. I would just recommend being very cautious and careful. But that being said, Ethereum is showing signs of, well, it's showing signs of weakness on the macro, but on the micro there, it does look like it wants to kind of turn around. I personally feel Bitcoin will stay steady right around the 19,800 / 20,200 range for a little while and then potentially increase from there. I think it's slightly more likely. Again, a lot of things are on a razor's edge right now. So with Ethereum, it's one of those situations where it's not fantastic, but it's not terrible either, right? Kind of fair to Midland, but I would expect more downside than upside just based on the tomorrow being the news day, right? That's just kind of a common characteristic. So I hope that works out favorably. I would set up some limit orders and kind of go from there, but maybe patiently waiting on the sidelines might be the most appropriate way to go here, just based on Ethereum being it's still doing very well, but it has a lot of room for downside potentially if the news is negative. I don't foresee the news being negative with the merge, of course, but in most cases the news can create that kind of result, right? This unnatural hysteria. So please just be mindful, be cautious. I would just maybe recommend, the best position right now might be no position. You've heard me say that before in the past. That might be a consideration for now. If you already have a position open, leave it open, let it ride, of course, depending on your overall goals for Ethereum. Me, I've been dollar cost averaging into Ethereum for a while, so honestly, it doesn't really matter what happens. Just depends on where you're at, right? What kind of trade are you in? That will dictate it. And again, risk tolerance, those are all things you want to work within. So make sure you develop your own risk tolerance. I have that in my trading academy as well, so be sure to check that out. Again, once more, if you haven't already. Thank you so much to my current community members for the fantastic feedback I've received recently, and just I love the fact that you're trying to learn this bear market. It's the best time to learn because the bull market's going to be tremendously better. Just know that. We'll be there eventually soon. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you in the next one.